All right, let's get into multiplying matrices. And what I want to start with is something very trivial, and that's multiplying a matrix by just a number. So let's take the matrix 1, -2, -3, 4, and I'm just going to multiply that by -7. All that means is I take every element inside the matrix and multiply it by -7. So this would be another 2 by 2 matrix. It would be -7, +14, +21, and -28. So I just take every element inside the matrix and I multiply it by that. I'm going to call it a scalar quantity. It's not a matrix, it's just a number. All right? And that's how you multiply a matrix by a number. So that's pretty straightforward. I'm not going to get into that in too much detail. But what about multiplying two matrices? I'm going to start off with something relatively simple. I'm going to multiply two 2 by 2 matrices together. And the reason I choose that is because multiplying matrices is pretty convoluted. And so it's not just 1 times -6, -3 times 8. It's much more difficult than that. And so we want to be really careful, meticulous in how we do that. And the way this works is I'm going to be looking at rows and columns. And I've chosen a 2 by 2 times a 2 by 2 because it's simpler. And in a little bit we'll do another one. We'll do a 2 by 2 times a 2 by 3, and we'll talk about that in more detail. All right, so the way this works, and I'm sure there's an a sub ij notation that would help us, but I'm sure I don't know what it is, but you might look that up. All right, so the way this works is I take the first row and the first column, and I'm going to multiply and add those things together. So for example, this is going to be another matrix, and so I take 1 times -6 plus, 1 times -6 plus -2 times -8. And this is going to create the upper left-hand element for this new matrix C, right? So that's not two different elements, that's one element. And then to get this one, well, so this was row 1, column 1, so I took row 1 and column 1. This is going to be row 1, column 2, the next element. So I want row 1, column 2. So this is going to be 1 times 5 plus -2 times -7. Okay, and that's going to terminate this matrix. Right, so this is the elements in row 1, the 1 and the -2, and the elements in column 2, the 5 and the -7. So this is going to be row 2, column 1. So I use -3 and 4, that's row 2 in the left-hand matrix, and -6 and 8, that's column 1 of the right-hand matrix. So it's going to be -3 times -6 plus 4 times -8. Right? -3, 4, 4, -6, -8. Okay, so that's the first element in the second row. So row 2, column 1. And then row 2, column 2, you're going to use row 2, column 2. So that's -3 times 5 plus 4 times -7. And so this matrix C will be -6 plus 16, so that's 10. And then it'll be 5 plus 14, so that's 19. 18 minus 32, so that's -14. And then -15 plus -28. So -15 plus -28, that's -43, I think. -15 plus -28, that's 30 and 13, so -43. And so there is A times B, right? There is A times B. All right, now, let's do this. Let's do B times A. Let's do B times A. And so that's going to be -6, 5, -8, -7 times 1, -2, -3, and 4. And so when I do that, I'm going to do this a little quicker then. -6 times 1 plus 5 times -3. So that's -6 plus negative 15. That's negative 21. Okay, first row, second column, so take row 1, column 2. Negative 6 times negative 2, that's positive 12. 5 times 4, that's 20. So 12 plus 20 is 32. Second row, first column, second row, first column. Negative 8 times 1, that's negative 8. Negative 7 and negative 3 is positive 21. Negative 8 plus 21 is 13. Positive 13. And then row 2, column 2, row 2, column 2. Negative 8, negative 2, that's positive 16. And then negative 7, positive 4 is negative 28. And so that's going to be negative 12. So notice B times A is not the same as C. B times A is not the same as C. In fact, there's not even a relationship in there. Those numbers look completely different. All right, so multiplication of matrices is not commutative. And we'll talk more about that in a second. Multiplication of matrices is not commutative. All right, now, what about these two matrices here? I've got a 2 by 2 and a 2 by 3. All right, so remember, it's row and column. So I'm going to take row 2, column 1. So that's going to be 1 times 5 plus negative 2 times 2. Row 1, column 2, column 1. So this is the first row, first column of my next matrix. Row 1, column 1. Let's do row 1, column 2. So that's going to be 1 times negative 7, which is negative 7. And then negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. So plus 2. So negative 7 plus 2. And then I have row 1 and column 3. So it's going to be row 1, column 3. This is getting interesting. So I have 1 times 0, that's 0. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. So this will be negative 6. And then there's no more columns over here, so I'm going to stop there, right? Let's do row 2, column 1. Row 2, column 1 is going to be the first column in the second row here. So negative 3 times 5 plus 4 times 2. Row 2, column 2, going to be right here. Negative 3 times negative 7, that's positive 21. 4 times negative 1, so negative 3 times negative 7. 4 times negative 1, so subtract 4. And then finally, row 2, column 3, row 2, column 3. Negative 3 times 0, 0. 4 times 3 is 12. And so you'll notice I get 2 rows, 3 columns in my final matrix. So this final matrix is a 2 by 3. Okay, that's a 2 by 3. And so what do I have? I have 5 minus 4, that's 1. Right? 5 minus 4 is 1. Negative 7 plus 2 is negative 5. Negative 6. I've got negative 15 plus 8, that's negative 7. 21 minus 4 is 17. And then 12. And so this is equal to A times D. Right? The same A as I had over there. This is equal to A times D. Okay? Let's, and that's a 2 by 3. Let's reverse this. Let's do D times A. All right, so I'm going to erase some of this over here. So D times A would be 5, 2, negative 7, negative 1, 0, 3, and then 1, negative 2, negative 3, 4. Okay, so the first element, I want row 1 of the first matrix, column 1 of the second matrix. Okay, row 1 is right here, 5, negative 7, 0, column 1. So I have 5 times 1 plus negative 7 times negative 3, right? 5 times 1, negative 7 times negative 3, 0 times, I got nothing, right? So plus 0 times a question mark. There's nothing there. So not only is it not commutative in this case, I can't do it. because I don't have enough elements in this second matrix. Right? So this is a 2 rows by 3 columns. This is a 2 rows by 2 columns. So what you'll notice is over here I could do it. And one thing to keep in mind here is this is 2 by 2 and then a 2 by 3. The middle number here is the same, and that's going to work. And what I'm left with then is 2 by 3. And that's what I have for my final result. So when you look at two matrices you want to multiply together, look at the row and column. If the inside number, the column of the first matrix, and the row of the second matrix aren't the same, it can't be done, right? Here, 3 is not the same as 2. I can't multiply these. I cannot multiply these. And then the outside numbers will tell us what the final matrix will look like. That's going to tell us what the final matrix will look like as far as its dimension. It's a 2 by 3. Okay? So, what can I do to make this work? Well, I can change this matrix. I'm going to make it a 2 by 3. Excuse me, a 3 by 2. So let's add a little bit to this. And I'll put in a, negative 2, 5 here. So now I've got a 2 by 3 matrix here, a 3 by 2 matrix here. So let's do this. Right? Let's get those multiplied together. So I have first row, first column, right? The 3's match, and I should end up with a 2 by 2, right? The 3's match, the outside numbers are 2 by 2. That should be my final result. So when I do this, I get 5 times 1 plus negative 7 times negative 3 plus 0 times negative 2. Right, there's the first element. Let's go to the next element. That's row 1, column 2. So I'm going to take row 1 up here, column 2. 5 times negative 2, that's negative 10, plus negative 7 times 4, that's negative 28. And then 0 times 5 is 0. Okay? So that's the second element. That's row 1, column 2. Okay, row 1, column 2. And then row 2, column 1, I get 2 times 1 is 2. Negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. That's row 2, 2, negative 1, 3, column 1, 1, negative 3, negative 2. And then finally row 2, column 2, 2 times negative 2, right? 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Negative 1 times 4 is minus 4. And 3 times 5 is 15. And so my final one will be 5 plus 21, so that's 26. Negative 10, negative 28 is negative 38, plus 0. And then 5 minus 6 is negative 1. And negative 8 plus 15 is 7. And so my final result is a 2 by 2. The inner numbers match, the outer numbers tell us what the final matrix will look like. Okay? And that's matrix multiplication. Big matrices, much more tedious, not really harder, just more tedious, more room for error. Okay? All right, if you have any questions about that, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you.